Calibration for hypnotists and normal people too. That's what this video is all about. Calibration is kind of a weird sounding word that comes up a lot in hypnosis and NLP, but it's also critical to almost every aspect of human communication. So Mike and I are going to talk about this.
Yeah, it makes people think of, when you hear the word calibration, micrometers and fancy instruments. And just like you'd calibrate a scale in a lab or a light source if you're doing photography, you can also calibrate human beings.
Right, and we intuitively do this already. So, for example, we know if our spouse is mad,
That's
or
for sure.
when your business partner is just really, really bored. Oh yeah.
Scare ya?
So let's dive into
Okay,
this.
let's dive into calibration and how it all works. So what is it? Calibration is by and large getting a baseline, noticing things at first. What do you see, hear, and notice in someone else's external behavior? I say external because we can't hear their thoughts. So you have to notice what's already there and then notice when something changes, because calibration is the heart of good hypnotherapy.
Right, calibration permits us to notice trances forming and, of course, trances fading.
Right,
too.
as they come back to the world.
We all go, and outside of the field of hypnosis, we go into trance all the time on a highway, etc. So you'll notice when you're going into a trance and when you're coming out, and you can notice this in other people too.
Right, and you can watch when you're doing hypnosis for specific external shifts. We call them external trance indicators. You're calibrating to them, and you might notice things like deeper breathing suddenly happens or slowly happens. Facial coloration changes. I mean, that can actually occur when someone's going into a trance. Tension or any lack of it around the eyes or anywhere else. What else?
Well, you can even notice, let's say, to take it away from the hypnotherapy and hypnosis context for a moment, let's say you're watching a movie, you might notice that in a scary scene, you'll catch yourself going, oh, my muscles are suddenly tense. But back to hypnosis, you can notice, let's say somebody talking and your vocal tone as a hypnotist might shift and someone might respond to that. You can, or when you're listening to somebody speak, their
and they speak slower or faster.
Right, and volume shifts or distance of how close somebody is to you or how far away they are from you.
And it's the whole body though too, isn't it? We're not just calibrating their voice or their face, but there'll be changes in posture. Like in hypnosis, we see people start to relax. We get the head tilt coming in.
Or eye blink reflex. Let's say you're telling a really compelling story and you notice that the person you're speaking to just sort of doesn't blink. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Right, because as deep trance approaches, the eye blink reflex will slow down or stop altogether. So you're right, anything that changes. So a change means that something has shifted in that person, and that's what we're seeing externally.
Okay, so calibration applies to, like we said, therapy, but also more than just therapy.
Like everyday life.
Right. I mean, let's talk about if you mention somebody's brother and you notice that they frown.
And under his breath, you're just,
like something has changed, right?
Right,
so
you calibrated that.
You're already doing this unconsciously. And as you do it consciously, it might seem difficult, but then it gets easier and you do it better unconsciously.
Of course you will, because eventually you'll wind up doing it unconsciously even better just through sheer repetition and practicing. The example of the highway, car on a highway, really shows how you're calibrating all the time. Maybe not realizing it, you're doing it unconsciously. As we said, we do this all the time. We make decisions on the highway at highway speed by anticipating what we think other drivers will do. So the number of times I'll be flying along, Chris, my Subaru, and there'll be a car in the right-hand lane, and I'll just go, okay, he's going to pull into my lane.
Yeah.
Now I've calibrated.
You can tell.
Maybe I've calibrated. He's checked his mirror like this, and I've done all this unconsciously. Yeah. And very often I'll back up and he'll pull into the lane right away. We do this all the time. We anticipate what other drivers will do based on unconscious information.
100%. I mean, I'm teaching, I taught one daughter how to drive. I'm about to start teaching the other. And yeah, when you first learn to drive, there'll be certain things you do unconsciously. And then an instructor or a parent or whatever will point out, oh, here are other things to watch out for. You'll do them consciously. And then suddenly they become part of your unconscious calibration. You're just doing it, and now you know. And you wonder, how did you not know that car was going to pull into your lane? They just didn't have the experience yet, right?
Good point.
Calibration is calibration is vitally important also in things like business meetings, right?
Oh, buddy, let me tell the example on that. Yes, we have to calibrate the response that we are getting for our communication with other people. Remember, that's it. in hypnosis, we're calibrating our induction response. We're calibrating the suggestions we're providing, maybe metaphors we're telling. We're calibrating the response coming back from the other person, the other side of the communication loop. But it happens in the regular world. And I said a business meeting is a classic case. I was at a meeting once with two women. One of them was one of my agents, very high-profile agent, lovely woman. We had this lunch. She has limited time. We have discussed everything needed to discuss about how to get me out there more when I was doing keynotes and so on. We finished the lunch. We walked back with her the few blocks to the business. And just as her feet are turned away, she's just about to go in and say goodbye, and the other person opens the loop right from the beginning again and starts asking.
Doesn't calibrate the feet and the body
The meeting's
position.
over.
Yeah.
Does not calibrate. The meeting has been over for 10 minutes.
Press the reset button and do it all over again.
Calibrate.
Yeah.
So remember the guy at the awards ceremony I told you about?
Told me about this story
man.
about a guy at an awards ceremony, and this was an executive who worked for the CEO. Right?
Yes.
And
He was the new vice president of sales, and he worked for the CEO. The CEO was a pretty hardline guy. He'd had cancer, he'd recovered, and everybody really respected him. So new guy comes in, he's up at the awards ceremony. He's been drinking too much, which cuts down calibration ability.
Oh, yeah.
He's up at the front, and he makes a slightly off-color joke. Now, everybody
Nervous
knows.
laughter.
Yeah, the CEO does not like filthy jokes. So they sort of, he thinks, oh, I'm becoming a hit.
Because he's been drinking, and as you said, alcohol
not calibrating.
destroys your ability to calibrate. So you, as the person on stage, are thinking, oh, they like the joke. It's great. I got to ramp it up.
He's mistaking politeness for interest.
Right.
And then he ramps it up, and he winds up telling a filthy joke. Really bad. I wasn't there for this, but the people of the organization told me themselves. They said at the expense of his boss, like said something obscene, which Chris knows, and it was absolutely horrible.
And what happened to his employment?
Thinking that thinking he's going to get a round of applause and the boss is going to stand up and laugh his ass off. What happened was he was fired the moment he left the podium. And this was his brand new job. He didn't calibrate, and alcohol will destroy your ability to calibrate.
All right. So calibration in hypnosis, calibration outside of hypnosis in everyday conversation, it's a critical skill. It makes you a better listener, and it also makes you a better conversationalist.
Well, it does. Remember, I said even standard conversation at a gathering I was at some years ago. One man came up to me. He said, "Did you see such and such?" It was some program, a half-hour program.
Right,
Yeah, it was a documentary. It's like half an hour long. I said, "No, I didn't." So instead of realizing I'm in line for food and have zero interest, I've shown zero interest.
Time.
Yeah, he just starts telling me about it, but doesn't say what it was about. Chris, you know this story. He tells me the entire episode in real time.
Like half an hour long.
Yeah. And then he goes outside and his car's still, and I'm thinking, why are you telling me this? I've shown no interest, but he's bleary-eyed and zoned out, not noticing my feet are turned away because I'm trying to get away from him. Told me the whole damn story.
All right. So I love that one.
I hate it.
When you told me, if you get better at calibration, you will become a more effective communicator, a better listener, and of course, a better hypnotist. We realized that it's been years we've been putting out YouTube videos and stuff and teaching the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy where we talk about calibration all the time, but we never had a YouTube video on it, so we decided to do this one.
And we did.
Hope you appreciate it. So if you're interested in learning more about hypnosis, I'm Chris Thompson.
I'm Mike Mandel.
We run the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy. It's completely free to get started with our training. You'll find a link in the description under this video on YouTube, and we'll ring the bell right now just to let you know that we want you to hit that subscribe and ring the bell so you're always alerted of our newest videos on YouTube. And
right.
It's just fun to ring that bell.
I'm going to do it.
Do it again.
Thanks.
Yeah, do it again.
No, I've had enough.
All right, there. We'll put it away. All right, we'll end the video. Thanks again,
And good night.